To the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.
Welcome, everyone. Another edition of the Narrative Podcast. I'm your host, Halsey Allen. Welcome all my narrators. So right off the bat, before I even go in, we know what's coming up on Monday. So spoiler alert, that's going to be my speaking point of the day when I come to that section. So just get ready for it. But anyway, I hope you guys had a good week. Welcome all my narrators, like I said already. Anyone new to the podcast, I'll just give you a brief synopsis of, my content and my overall goal that I'm trying to achieve in this space. So let's start at the top, shall we? So start at the name. How did I come up with the name, the Narrative Podcast? Came up with the name because I feel that the media weaves a false narrative about original people and original culture. Come to the original part in just a second. Basically, they depict us in a negative light. They propagate and sensationalize negative stereotypes within our culture. And they do this for personal gain. They do it to basically sell news and also control the minds of the masses, have people outside of our culture view us in a certain light, because many people don't know of us, never lived with us, lived around us, went to the same schools. The only frames of reference that they're given about us are all negative ones. They're always showing us in violence. They're always pushing gang culture, drug culture, just all kinds of, subterfuge and propaganda they use to portray us with. So basically, I wanted to create a platform where I'm showcasing and highlighting us at our best. I'm destroying the negative stereotypes about us by providing positive frames of reference. The ultimate takeaway I want my listeners to get from my podcast is how important it is to share positive content on your platforms. That's why I call my listening audience my narrators, because we all have the power to change the narrative about how we're being perceived worldwide as a people. And you can do it as easily as just by sharing positive content, because like I already said, these days you're basically judged about what you post online. That's your carbon footprint. So just imagine if you're always posting gang culture, drug culture, thought culture, pimp culture, violence, random acts of violence, and all other kind of buffoonery and nonsense on your page. This is like, what people are going to perceive about you as an individual and also as, an original man or original woman. So now I come to the, now that you got a basic gist of, what I'm trying to achieve on my platform, I come to the original part. So I'm gonna eat a little humble pie because I went on a kick lately about why I've, you know, elected to refer to our people as original as opposed to black on my platform. Well, first and foremost, when you go into the English dictionary and you look up the word black, there's all kind of negative connotations surrounding the word black. Um, but before you come up to all those negative example sentences, nouns, pronouns, verbs, adverbs, um, describing the word black, what you will notice, the very first thing they do before you come to all those words is they make sure to denote origin. They'll have black, a person of African descent, Aboriginal people descending from Africa, something to that nature, and then they'll go into these example sentences and using the word, give examples of how to use the word black, and they'll say things like gloomy, depressed, um, and just basically making the word black seem foul. So, and I'm eating humble pie because I've recently come into the knowledge, you know, about what black originally meant before, the colonizers got a hold of it and basically made it a foul word. Uh, originally, I said in a previous podcast, we didn't refer to ourselves as black, and then we didn't call ourselves black in early civilization. Um, so in the English language, yes, black, in the sense I was right, but in the sense I was wrong as well. Another spoiler alert, that's going to be my final word of the day when I come to that section. But anyway, basically, there are many words in ancient African civilization where black is something positive, and but like I said, colonizers got a hold of the word black and dirtied it up and made it foul, and it is basically like psychological warfare, as is the media. They do these little psychological games with us and basically overall try to alter our self-perception of ourselves. Um, so that's just what I want to clarify, because I came into some new knowledge in recent events, but I still believe, original better describes our people, and I'm going to try to insert the word original, you know, in place of the word black, because it now means, death and the end of all things and all these foul, negative words. Even though, the origins of the word, the original origins of the word were, godly and prestigious, these filthy beasts have turned it into something negative. But if you go and look in the dictionary or thesaurus and look up the word original, it's all positive and it's all good things about the word original. And I think original, fits us to a T, because we were and are the original man and the original woman on this planet. Pretty much everything originates, from us. Like, we created pretty much everything, every modern day convenience you can think of, we created it, and got little to no credit for it. So like, we originated mathematics, we originated, the alphabet, we originated paper, we originated alchemy, we originated science, we originated the written word and the spoken word. Um, we originated time, like how to record time. Uh, we originated, travel. We was the first people to build boats and sail on boats. We originated philosophy. We originated chemistry. We originated biology. We originated alchemy. So, I believe the word original is more befitting to describe us as a people as opposed to the word black. But, in recent light, I have been wrong in my assertion that, because I believe in the power of words. Once you release the word out of your mouth, you are, universal law binds you to the words you speak. So you got to be careful about the words that you say, um, and speak over yourself, verbally or mentally. But yeah, so black once meant something positive, but these filthy colonizers turned it into something foul, and that's something psychologically, we latch on to as it meaning something negative. But original from day one has always meant something good. So, you know, we're day ones. We are the original man and the original woman. So I refer to us as original as often as possible on my platform. But yeah, so, I was never ashamed of being black or being called black. I just came into some information and, you know, thought of it a certain way because, words are spells, and the way how they got it structured in the dictionary, is basically like speaking death over yourself by calling yourself black. But anyway, I digress. I'm gonna dive right into this content. Quick disclaimer: um, this my podcast is monetized. So you will hear ads throughout the broadcast. Please do not stop listening. Um, Continue to listen. You will be rewarded for it, and enjoy the content, but you will experience ad rolls. Um, Now, also, my podcast is broken up into sections. Each section has a speaking point. I do this to be time conscientious and to, help prevent my content from being too convoluted. I wanted a nice cohesive flow to it. I want to make it digestible to my listeners. When I first began podcasting, I had really no clue what I was doing. I'm still kind of green, but I would just hit record and just go in and just start talking, and I'm bouncing from topic to topic without a clear starting or stopping point. Um, and I noticed kind of like nobody was listening. But after I broke it down into sections, my listening audience grew. And so, so now it's my goal to not exceed 1 hour on my broadcast, and also, just to make it as plain as possible, shoot straight to the meat and say what I got to say and deliver the message and make my message digestible and help you to, retain the knowledge and spread it. So, that's why, I've broken my podcast up into sections. Um, so like I said, my overall takeaway I want from my listeners to get is how important it is to share positive content about original people on your platforms. Um, that's the ultimate takeaway I want from you to get from listening to me, is how important it is, to always share positive content when it comes to this. Like, you're a grown man, you're a grown woman, you can post anything you want on your platform. It's your platform. You can post anything you want, but just know there's a a consequence for doing that. People outside of our culture see it, they don't know any of us. They take that frame of reference as law. Well, that's, make generalizations like all of them must, subscribe to this modality of thinking, and, they must all, feel this way and act this way. Because sometimes we post things online and something that's funny, we might post it, if we think it's funny, we might post it online, just not really thinking like how many other people are seeing it. It doesn't necessarily mean that I, subscribe to this. I thought this was funny, or you post something interesting. So like, and more to that point, when you post something, always try to put a caption and put it in context when you're posting it online. Because people outside of our culture, and sometimes people within our culture, take things out of context. So you've got to always be mindful to put whatever you're posting online in context, in proper context when you're posting, especially if it like represents us as a people. But anyway, enough about that. I'm going to dive into my content now. Another small favor I asked of my audience is to please download this episode. This is episode 172 of the Narrator podcast. Download this episode and our previously recorded episodes of the Narrator podcast to help my platform grow. And here we go. So first section is a promotional section. In this section, what I'm doing is giving original men and women the opportunity to receive free promotion about their business, product, or service from me, 110% for free, just by reaching out to me. And I promote your business, product, or service for free. And the reason why I'm doing that is to help the original dollar circulate in the original people community. Because we have to support one another. We are due reparations in this country, as well as pretty much every other place on the planet that we inhabited. Because like I said, we was original man and woman. We were not all transplants of slavery and transatlantic slave trade and chattel slavery. We was like pretty much indigenously located in pretty much every corner of the globe. So let's get that right. But anyway, if you need or would like some free promotion, reach out to me at Passion Webmail at poeticpassion.host. Subject bar, type promo. Body of the email, tell me a little bit about your business, product, or service. Be specific as possible. The more specific you are, the better the advertisement will be. So, help me help you. And it's like I anticipate people that do for their community, that they're rooted in, will reach out to me. So, to create jobs, create opportunities for your community, donate some of your product, service, or whatever your community's in need of. Let your business be, the hub for that to receive the help. And, leave it for future generations, not just you and yours, but a structure for future generations to benefit from your business. And that's how you grow a nation. So again, if you want the free promotion, hit me up, Halsey Allen at Passion Webmail at poeticpassion.host. Subject bar, promo, body of the email, a little bit about yourself, business, product, and service, and I'll plug it for you right here on my platform, 110% for free. Got it? Okay. Next section. This section is called the contest section. In this section, what I'm doing is promoting the contest that I'm running here exclusively for my platform, the Narrator Podcast. I'm giving my listeners some incentive. My day one listeners, some incentive to keep listening to me, and new listeners, some incentive to listen to me. Tell a friend to tell a friend to tune into the Narrator podcast, and you will be rewarded. And when the current contest that I'm running is called Chew on This, and what I'm giving away for a prize is a bulk supply of your favorite snack, and you get that simply by entering the contest and participating in the topic. And my current topic is share your most recent shopping while black experience. You get a bulk supply of your favorite snack for doing so. And to enter the contest is the exact same email address as the promotion. The way I'm separating them is through the subject bar. So to enter the contest, hit me up at passionwebmail at poeticpassion.host. Subject bar type chew on this / or dash shopping while black. If you don't want to type in the whole word shopping while black, type in all caps SWB, body of the email. Share your most recent shopping while black experience. Mailing address so I know where to send your snack. And then, of course, tell me what type of snack you want. So your most recent shopping while black experience, your mailing address, and what type of snack do you want. And the only other thing I asked is, keep it brief. I just want a brief synopsis of what happened. I don't want a novel. So try not to exceed 5 or 6 paragraphs about your experience. So that's all, and it's 110% for free. Entry is free. I'm not trying to get anything from you. I'm trying to give you something. So yeah, hit me up, passionwebmail at poeticpassion.host, subject bar, chew on this / or dash shopping while black. So there you go. Now, moving right along, my first official section of the Narrative Podcast is the highlight section. What I'm doing in this section is I'm highlighting businesses owned and operated by original people, men and women that own their own business, our people. And my purpose behind doing so is to inspire you to share positive frames of reference about entrepreneurialism and inspire you because, we're constantly being bombarded with all these negative images of us. They're always showing us financially destitute, disenfranchised, and heavily dependent on our government. So in this section, what I wanted to do is just, provide frames of reference about regular schmegular people like you and I who was working 9-to-5 jobs and was dissatisfied with their jobs and what they were doing in life and decided to go into business for themselves. And not all the stories are for profit. It's just something self-fulfilling, satisfying to themselves, something that they were passionate about doing, something that made them personally happy, and they want to spend the rest of their life doing it. In addition to doing that, they're owned and operated, by their own people. Many of them are family-owned endeavors, so that's I would be providing the frame of reference about generational wealth, as well. And then they also, the businesses that I highlight either, do some type of activism, social activism. They either have their own nonprofit organization, or they pay into one, or, dedicate their services to uplifting the community into some capacity. Another factor is, besides hiring their own and being owned and operated by one of us, is that they align up with my theme. And my current theme is the season of winter slash New Year, even though technically it's not the New Year. I already covered that in the previous episode, but for all intents and purposes, that's my theme. So, without any further ado, I'm gonna get right into the highlight section. Um, in the season of winter, we're kind of indoors more, especially if you live in a four season state. Um, Now, if you live in a one season where it's kind of nice all year round, still around this time, you're still staying indoors more, doing more indoor activity around this time of year. And, one indoor activity that never gets old, even though with all this new technology and all these, new gadgets they keep coming up with, something that has stood the test of time and something that started with the beginning of time was reading, is reading. So, that's still a pastime. Even with the internet, it's like we got information at the touch of a button. Nothing trumps a good book. Nothing. Because, books, they engage your five senses. There's, an olfactic treat, like something for your eyes, because you're looking at the printed words. The smell. You ever smell something so pungent that you kind of taste it? And then some people, when they read, they might lick their index finger and turn the page. And then sense of touch. So, and then you hear it when you're turning the page, unless you're hearing impaired. So, and there's also something esoteric about a book, an actual physical book. Like when you get a book, when you go looking for a book, like the knowledge calls out to you. If you ever go to a library or a bookstore you're not quite sure to get, you just get to walking down the aisle, you will gravitate to the book that you're supposed to be reading. For whatever you're doing, whether you're a hobbyist, you want to build something, you want to build some shelves at home, fashion design, you might get a book about fashion and design. You might get a book about poetry. Hey, speaking of poetry, go to the Poetizer bookstore and pick up my book titled The Black Car. Shameless plug. But anyway, yeah, so books, they just got a mystique about them. And the next business that I'll be highlighting in the highlight section are about books. Bookstores, more to the point. The bookstores owned and operated by original men and original women. Now, in my highlight section, I usually have 4 to 5. Today, I'll only be highlighting 2 bookstores. The reason is just because there's thousands of them out there, but these 2 in particular ones just kind of stood out to me. Probably for the same reason, like I just got through sharing. When you select a book, or the way a book calls out to you, these bookstores called out to me when I was looking up bookstores to have something to highlight in my highlight section today. So, first bookstore I'll be highlighting is called the Black Garnet Bookstore. And the proprietor's name is Dion Sims. The website, it was established in 2020. The website is www.garnetbooks.com. Physical address 1319 University Avenue, St. Paul, Minnesota. Phone number 515-641-75 15. If you want to know more information at Garnett Books, she basically started the bookstore in wake of the George Floyd, when they had the civil unrest here in our country. They just, shook apart the fabric of, our society this century anyway. There's been many, many more events than that, but this had a global effect. The George Floyd thing had a global effect. But anyway, um, so it kind of inspired her to, look at her neighborhood in a different way, and she noticed that area was kind of a knowledge desert. There wasn't any like bookstores in that area. Now she herself, she wears many hats. She has all kinds of educational background and training. She was a fashion designer for a major fashion retailer in the area. She went to study at a college for a lot. She got several degrees under her belt. But again, she was inspired to, open a bookstore because she wanted, our people to know of themselves, and also to promote books written for us, by us, people, our authors, to teach us something. So it was an enlightenment thing. That was her mission. You can go see her mission statement on her page when you visit the website, what she wants to establish with her bookstore. So, she manifested the dream by putting it out in the universe just on a random Facebook post when the riots and things were taking place. Um, she said something to the effect Minnesota doesn't have enough books, and it garnered over 1,300 views or 13,000 views. And from there, the idea was spawned in her head, and she just went to work. She created a GoFundMe, and she collected. Her goal was $72,000. She hit that goal in less than 48 hours, and then she went even further than that with 108,000, and she hit that in less than 48 hours. So, like I say in this section, what I like to do when I do my highlight section, I like to put out the positive frame of reference. I want the listeners to hear the process, how they started out, what kinds of obstacles they faced along their journey, how they came up with their name for their business, what was their inspiration, their motivation for it. That's what I try to present in this section. And like I've done, she was inspired with the George Floyd thing. She had an extensive educational background, but her background didn't necessarily line up with what she was trying to do. But it was a passionate project, and the business is currently thriving. And that's what I want to showcase in this section is you don't necessarily have to have a plan to start a business. Technically, they say you have to have a business plan, like if you want funding and all that, like if you want to go to a bank or get a grant. But you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't necessarily have to have all the details in order to get going. You have to just take that first step. And that's what I want to showcase in this section, people just taking that first step. All right. I want to give a warm narrative podcast round of applause to I'm trying to find her name. I lost my Mrs. Sims and the Black Garnet books. Ooh, that was a very long pause. All right, and then another thing I want to point out is that the story is more complex than that. I just gave you the streamlined version because, like I said, I'm trying to, hit my time limit goals on my platform, make it more time conscientious. But if you want to do your own Googles to research your story, definitely feel free. I just gave you the streamlined version of it, how she started that business. All right, so on to the next order of business, about the business. Second business is the Blackstone Bookstore and Cultural Center. And the proprietor's name is Kip Johnson, and our proprietor's name is a joint venture, Kip Johnson and Carlos Franklin. Website is www.blackstoneBookstore.com. I'm sorry, I can't read my handwriting sometimes. Okay, and the telephone number is 734-961-7336. And this is an interesting name, so bear with me, guys. 214 West Michigan Avenue in, I hate y'all. Y'all suck for this. Ypsilanti, Michigan. I believe I'm saying it right. Ypsilanti. It's Ypsilanti. If I remember my vowel sounds and stuff from school, I think it's Ypsilanti. But yeah, it's located in Michigan. You go to the site. I couldn't get an exact year that they established it, the bookstore, but I did kind of just do my Googles and got a little, brief synopsis of their story. Basically, that area also was a knowledge wasteland, and they got together, they collaborated, they decided to get a bookstore because there was only like one very teeny tiny bookstore, originally owned and operated bookstore, so that one couldn't properly service the community, so they decided to open one, and it's a cultural center. So they don't just sell books. When you go to their website, they also sell apparel and other merchandise. They use the actual, it's a center, so it's really big. So they, host poetry slams and do other community events there. Whatever they got going on in community, they rent the facility out for personal use. But primarily just to sell books. So definitely support that. Oh, and one more thing I forgot about, the highlight section that I didn't point out. I do this section to, get you to patronize our own, people that do for our own, because essentially when you help someone that does for our own, you're helping us as a people, helping yourself as well, and future generations, and just keeping that forever cycle of giving. So like for this generation and future generations, we should always support our own, and just not look for excuses not to, because we don't find an excuse to support people that don't love us, that we know emphatically don't care about us or our community, but we faithfully take our business to them. We faithfully go to all these QSRs. We faithfully go to these, foreign store markets in our community and give them our business, and already getting a funky attitude when we go in the store, having them not want to cater to us even though they're in our community, having us look at us up and down, like we got feces on us, talking to us all crazy, but we still steady taking our money to them. So we need to have that same energy for our own. Like, yeah, some of our own got, really bad, nasty attitudes, but all the time it ain't really the owner's fault, because sometimes, when you open your first business, the first instinctive thing is, to employ your family and employ your friends. And what they ain't knowing is some of their family and friends are jealous because they start the business and they do things to go out of their way to sabotage their business, such as, to provide horrible customer service at the desk. But that's not the proprietor's fault. They're just trying to help out the community. So you need to keep that in mind if you ever have a bad experience from an original people-owned business that you're supporting. Matter of fact, go to the proprietor, because they're probably not even aware that you got the bad service. It could just be like somebody they took pity on in their family, or a friend at that customer service desk, up at the cash register. So, take it to the owner first. Now, if it's the owner that got the bad attitude, then I don't know. I'm just trying to think of alternatives than just, having us, blast each other on social media, talking about don't go to taking out your phone, don't go and support this spot. I went to, JJ's chicken wing shop and they treated me like this and da 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 da. But you'll go to McDonald's though, but you'll go to Burger King though. So like I said, this was a super light bite on the highlight section today. I only had 2 people to highlight. So definitely go support them, these gentlemen at Kip Johnson and Carlos Franklin at the Blackstone bookstore, and give a warm narrative round of applause up for them and their services, for servicing the community. All right. So now on to the spotlight section. The spotlight section is a section where, basically I'm giving a person their roses while they're here. It's usually an actor, an actress, somebody in the entertainment industry. So like an actor, actress, models, recording artists, comedians, athletes, writers, producers, public figures, just basically, anybody in the entertainment industry, anybody who has a public platform and a polarizing platform at that, anybody in the eye of the public basically is who I spotlight in the spotlight section. Some other criterias that I use to spotlight is basically somebody that uses their platform to not be apologetic about our issues, to put it bluntly, when they're asked about our condition, especially here in America, that they don't, waver and saunter and backpedal. They just put it out there bluntly how it is, unfearfully and unapologetically. They do some type of philanthropy, help the cause, give back, like donate to schools, neighborhood functions, giving back to the community, sponsoring things, just basically using their voice to be the voice. If you dig what I'm saying, like their whole aura and their whole presence, basically the way they carry and conduct themselves too is a factor. It doesn't necessarily have to be about the money. Just something positive to look at and be like, well, if they did it, I can do it. So, that's what I do in the spotlight section. And to my own credit, I basically started the wave of spotlighting. Because before I added a spotlight to my podcast, the Narrator podcast, nobody, nobody on the internet, on the YouTube, on the wherever was spotlighting anybody. Now you pull out your device and spotlight this, spotlight that, spotlight this, spotlight that. And nobody was doing it before I added a spotlight section to my podcast. And you can go into episode logs and fact check and do your own analysis and your own data, but you will see that nobody was spotlighting anybody until I had the spotlight section on my podcast. And you know what? I'm not even salty because, that's the ultimate takeaway I want. It lets me know that, even though people ain't bigging me up and shouting me out and endorsing my platform, that my platform is growing and I'm having an effect. And the effect that I want is to create the healthy habit of saying something positive about your brother and your sister and being positive online instead of always being messy. Like instead of using your platform to denigrate your brother and sister and to kick them while they're down and say something negative. Because my platform is all about elevating and uplifting. So I wanted to create the wave of uplifting and elevating us instead of, stooping to the tactics of the oppressor and, kicking somebody while they're down or, say malicious things about a brother or sister online and denigrating each other online and always arguing and going at each other's throat. So, I want to create the wave of saying something positive. It's not corny to be nice to one another and treat each other decently. So, but anyway, on to the spotlight section. Who will be occupying the spotlight today here on the Narrative Podcast is a very, very, very beautiful sister, both in and out, externally and internally. Who has shown and been the example of to our sisters how to be beautiful, both internally and externally, but mostly she got her start on the external beauty part of it. She was actually the first one of us to, break the mold about the perception of beauty in this country, about, how this country perceives beauty. I'm talking about the one, the only, very lovely, very talented Miss Vanessa Williams, born Vanessa Lynn Williams in March 18, 1963. She basically was, the first black Miss America. She got it in 1984, and then of course, the controversy surrounding that to try to take her title away because she posed nude in Playboy. Which didn't even make any sense because that was like several years later. You're gonna try to strip her title away for a one and done thing. Like, it is what it is. So She was body confident before body confidence it was a thing. So like what I always say about here on my platform is like, uh, you know, proper context. It's a proper context for everything. So nudity can be tastefully done in the proper context. So Playboy spread is the proper context for that. There's other magazines that's more raunchy, where they're like, doing spread shots, spreading it open, inserting things down there. But, an adult magazine can be something that you're appreciating the female form. You're not just trying to pleasure yourself to the image, their nude images. Anyway, she's done so much in the industry. Like she had humble, meager beginnings. I'm not going to go too in depth, of her background because it's so extensive. And like I said, I try to keep my platform very time conscientious. And I know in the past I have been more in depth about the people that I'm, speaking up on the spotlight section. But if you want to go into super, in depth detail about her background, you can feel free to do so. But the reason I'm giving her the spotlight is for being the inspiration to so many young sisters looking up to her for beauty, to show the world that we are beautiful. Her music, her talent. She was R&B singer. So many television shows, so many movies. She's pretty much, bared her soul throughout her whole career. She's hid nothing, ran away and shied from nothing as far as, interviews. I think she done did like over a decade of the Playboy interview, like why did you pose for Playboy? So you got over a decade of answering that. How did you feel about, when they try to strip your title and blase, blase, blase. But basically the reason why I'm giving her the spotlight, she's always carried and conducted herself with poise, dignity, and grace. Those that personally know her, they might say some stuff, but, just how, she presents herself to the world. An example, of being tasteful, because like I said, nudity can be tastefully, it can be tastefully done if you do it in a classy way. Because what we got going on now is like thought culture. They're just getting naked without a cause. They're just like, bending over, poking it out, all up and down your timeline. You're not even getting a choice. And our young ladies is, they're believing that's what you have to do to, get men to like you and, feel beautiful is, poking it out and, dropping it low and all that. And, that's why I'm giving her the spotlight, just basically carrying herself with poise, dignity, and grace. Not getting smutty. Like I said, she's multi-talented, actor, actress, singer. She's appeared on so many things. She's also does so much philanthropy, uses her voice to speak on a whole lot of causes, mostly like HIV and AIDS, thing that affects our community immensely. Like that's still, even with this invisible thing going on, that's still like a big killer in our community. Which is actually, I think I put a pin in it here because right now I'm just kind of rambling. I already told you about what I admire about the sister, and all her contributions and accolades she has. Because when I said that, that's a perfect segue to my next section, which is the health and wellness section. So I stick a pin in it here. It was an honor and a privilege to spotlight Vanessa Williams here on the Narrator podcast, and I'm going to give that sister a warm Narrator podcast round of applause for everything she does. Thank you, sister. Appreciate you. Wish you much success in your career and many more. Thank you for being an inspiration. So. Now on my next section, it is my health and wellness section. In this section, what I'm doing is giving health and wellness tips to basically promote total body wellness, mentally and physically and spiritually. And the reason why I'm doing this because we are the most at-risk people, for contracting things. Our health is constantly, under fire as much as we are under fire. It's really sad. People don't want us to live long and prosper. These mad scientists are cooking up things in these laboratories, putting things in the air, our food, and water, and things we consume on a daily basis, regular household stuff that, target our specific unique genetic makeup, specifically our melanin. They want to destroy it. They want to rearrange it, break it down, harvest it, but definitely destroy it. That's the essence of our core being. Another way they try to destroy us, like I said, they weaponize the media, use all this propaganda, use all these negative images, to, basically attack us mentally. It's psychological warfare. We're seeing all these images, and that wreaks havoc on your subconscious, your psyche, because everything starts in the mind. So what's rooted in your subconscious becomes reality. And that's why they constantly bombard us with all these negative images about our people, in the effort to, destroy your overall health. Because when you're bombarded with negativity all the time, when you're around negativity, when you're seeing and absorbing it, what it does is it weakens your immune system. That's why so many illnesses, or why illnesses are called diseases. They occur when your mind is at dis-ease. Get it? So this section, what I'm doing is basically just giving tips to stay armored up, which you'll typically hear in this section, like if I'm doing something that you can eat to, promote total body wellness. I give you the benefits of a fruit, health benefits of a fruit, veggie, herb, plant, elixir, or something you can do to, increase your vitality. Or, a physical exercise that you can do to stay healthy and in shape and stay active and stay healthy. Or, some mental stuff you can do, such as mindful breathing, meditation, spiritual stuff like praying. I also sometimes talk about metaphysical stuff in this section. But the ultimate takeaway I want you to do is just be healthy, because health is wealth, and just to stay armored up because it is war. They've declared war on us. They do not like us. They don't want us here. And yes, it is a they. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a reality. Unfortunately, it is a they. They are threatened by us. They don't like us. They want to see us, destitute and distraught and disenfranchised. But the key in how we get over it and persevere like we've been doing is taking care of ourselves, being healthy, being well. So, today's health and wellness tip is something else we kind of do in wintertime, but I bet you didn't know how, mentally, the mental benefits of doing this can lead to, like, the mental health benefits you would get from just taking this very simple step. Organize. Being organized, that increases your mental health exponentially. There's a place for everything and everything in its place. If you take time to sort things out, clean stuff up, declutter your workspace, you will declutter your mind and free up thoughts and increase your mood. And when you increase your mood, you increase productivity. So if you're working on stuff, there's a 90% chance you will finish it all that much quicker if your workspace is nice, neat, and organized. You can find everything. So declutter your workspace, declutter your living space, your living room. Get everything nice and centered. I believe in Asian culture they call it feng shui. So you got to feng shui your life. You got to get everything nice, neat, and organized. Like me doing this podcast, I need to do a better job at organizing my notes so I don't have long pauses when I'm looking for something to complete a thought, making the listeners process better. So that'll do it with the health and wellness tip of the day. And on to my next section is the speaking section. In this section, what I'm doing is taking on current events. Anything going on in the media, like globally or locally or anything. Well, most things that pertain specifically to us, if it's something going on globally, I unpack it from our perspective because, the media will have us looking and sounding crazy. So, in this section, what I'm doing is I'm controlling the narrative. I'm controlling how we're being perceived. I'm how this news affects us and what's that mean, through our eyes. Because if, history has taught us nothing at all, is that you must tell your own story. If you don't tell your own story, you'll have your story told for us. And that's precisely what they're doing in the media. That's precisely what they're doing with these toxic, television programming, these trash scripted reality television shows, these depicting us in a negative light. These buffoonish sitcoms, these trashy daytime television programming that they have like on BET nowadays, that's because they're collecting their data based off things that you're posting online and things you're looking at. So they create the content from the things that you're posting online and the things you're looking at. But anyway, like I said, I meant to insert that comment in my original, comment of why I'm doing the podcast. I kind of left that part out, but Yeah, initially what I'm doing in this section is basically, controlling the narrative and unpacking current events from our perspectives. Um, in the event if I don't have any current news to, critique or weigh in on, I'll just basically make an observation, something going on with them in our culture, comment about a nuance or, something that we do as a people that we need to probably like stop and do less of if I don't have any current issues to talk about. But yeah, that's not the case this time. So my speaking point of the day is the holiday coming up, this federal holiday, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's um, federal recognition, and he does deserve this holiday in all capacity. Uh, any way you slice it, he definitely deserves to be recognized for all he did for the movement. Um, so that's what my speaking point will be today. Is talking about the significance and talking about what this holiday is really about and what they try to sell us that it's about. But to kick it off, I want to get in the mood. I'm gonna kick it off. I do not own the rights to this, but I'm gonna play it for you anyway. A few bars of it. I ain't gonna do the whole all of it, but yeah, if you know, you know. You should know what's coming up. Something every Martin Luther King holiday. When I was a lad in school, something that they played. It's coming.
Welcome to the
How come you know so much?
All right. And I'm going to leave it there because I don't want no copyright strikes because, it broadcast directly to YouTube on my platform. So, but yeah, so Dr. Martin Luther King's holiday, that was the King Day chorus holiday, and that was like a various artists of that time in that era. In that video, you had the Fat Boys, you had Grandmaster Flash, you had like Menudo, DeBarge, R.I.P. Whitney Houston was in it, and it was produced by none other than the infamous Curtis Blow. Fun fact, he said he acquired the budget to do that movie from Prince. Like he got $100K in cash from Prince to shoot that movie. And $100K in the early 80s, do you know how epic that was? For a black man just to have $100,000 in cash laying around. It's like 83, 84. Like if you know like the cost of living back then, like how high that was. Like minimum wage was like about $4 or $5 back then. Prince had $100K just laying around, said here. But anyway, so the significance of this holiday, we know Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was like one of the single most brilliant civil rights activists of our time. Not that anybody's like better than anybody, like all leaders had very great significance to the movement. It took all of them to get us to where we're at now. It took Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. It took Malcolm X. It took like even before them like Medgar Evans. It took the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. It took like all of them to get us to our point. But why we love Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's movement is, that there was a God. Because his message of nonviolence. So, and that's where I'm gonna stop it there, and I'm going to try to enforce my point there. Is like understand, like he was a man from down south, a man from Memphis, Tennessee, a Southerner. So he might have preached the message of nonviolence. Was not born, was not alive in that time, wasn't even a twinkle in my daddy's eye at that time. But I can guarantee you, if you would have put your hands on a young Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, brother, I bet you're going to get something other than the Word of God. You're going to get something other than the Word of God if you was to put your hands on a young Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, black, Caucasian, whatever. So, like, that's where I think, they kind of misconstrue and, try to make him seem more docile, when in fact he was more instrumental to the movement in ways of teaching us about group economics. Like, they always want to push the I had a dream speech. They don't want to push all the other speeches that he had about economics and, uniting as a group. They don't ever want to push towards the front that, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King had money, had finances. He was not a broke man. He wasn't like quote unquote financially wealthy man, but he definitely was not a pauper. He had his own businesses. His family, he came from money. His father had money. And it wasn't just like because he was a pastor, like taken from the church. Like, no, they had their own business. They understood how money worked, how economics worked. They understood the power of economics and was teaching that to his people, and that's why they killed him. That's why they wanted to always deflect it and make it just seem like, that's all he was about was his iconic I had a dream speech. They also deflect later on, from the deter the I have a dream speech. They want to push that to the forefront. They want to negate the speech that he had several months after the I had a dream speech about, his nightmare. I'm not going to directly quote it, but basically like he said, I made a big, huge mistake. I think I done led my people into a burning building with that ideology. Like, he was basically saying you got to fight fire with fire, not like being violent, but, sticking together on the money tip and opening our own businesses and supporting one another financially. He also had videos or speeches where he was pointing out, the divide here in America. His bootless man speech. How are you going to tell a bootless man to pull himself up by the bootstraps? Because this was, dominant society. Caucasian people's perception of us back then, and still today, about why are, you guys always complaining? Just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. This is the land of opportunity. Nobody should be complaining. Everybody has a fair shot, and it's just not true because this country was not designed for us. It never was designed with us in mind. They never wanted us to, excel and rise up. They still don't. More to the point, slavery never ended. It just took a different form. And, Martin Luther King was instrumental in pointing out those idiosyncrasies about, how America has the double standards when it comes to us. That he was exposing like all these government land grants that they give Caucasian people to pull themselves up by the bootstraps, but give us nothing. Like they freed us or they stopped into slavery, but then they started mass incarceration. They replaced slavery with mass incarceration. They're going to stop slavery, then arrest us for being poor, but give us no means to financially sustain ourselves. And so I'm personally just sick of every single year them blindsiding us with the I Had a Dream speech. It was very powerful. It was very riveting and uplifting, but like that's just an attempt to, water down the movement and water down what the man stood for. And also to deflect, he didn't give his life for the civil rights movement. His life was taken because of the civil rights movement. Let's get to that. Let's get to he was assassinated. They don't ever say that. They don't never say, Martin Luther King was assassinated. They say they use subterfuge. Like that's how they was teaching us in school about the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. He sacrificed his life for the civil rights movement. He didn't sacrifice his life. His life was taken. His life was taken. He got killed, got murdered. He didn't give his life for the civil rights movement. His life was taken. And that's something they try to drill in us and instill it in us in school. This is why we need more of our own schools to learn about our culture, because they're not telling it right. And they tell it from a skewed viewpoint to absolve themselves from what they did to us. They don't want us knowing the truth. But we're living in the age of Aquarius and we're finding the truth. With these little handheld devices, we're finding, more information quicker. Now, like Google doesn't equate to knowledge. So don't misconstrue what I'm saying. I'm not saying you should just Google everything. That's not knowledge. But if you really want to keep it a book knowledge ain't real knowledge. Divine knowledge is knowledge. You get the divine knowledge from the higher power, God, the source, whatever. But because, books are written from the author's perspective. And they're going to supply all the information. They're going to gather all the facts that support their perspective. So just keep that in mind for people that read books and think because you read some books that you're smart. There's many perspectives to, any subject. But I'm veering off topic. My point, what I'm trying to bring home is they just, they defile his memory by not saying he was assassinated. They're insulting our intelligence by, not saying that the government had a hand in his assassination, that they're just trying to put it on just some, racist, deranged guy when this dude had specific instructions from our government to get rid of a guy who was being successful in teaching us about group economics. because they saw how the Montgomery boycott went down. They saw everybody paying attention to him. He said, "Hey, y'all, let's boycott the bus system," you know, and we seen how that played out. So it was more of the Montgomery boycott going on. There was more instances where he was um, inspiring people to, buy land, buy property, buy homes, get their tangibles. As hard as it was to make a living back then, he was inspiring people, doing a really good job at driving that point home to us. Like, you have to have a tangible, you have to have resources. And then also driving the point home is that they owe us. They owe us resources for everything we've done for this country. There would be no country without us. So like all these immigrants to come here and get top billing over us and get their needs addressed, he was shedding light on that. But every year they want to just, marginalize it and make it seem like, the only good thing he did is deliver the "I Had a Dream" speech. And he was so much more than the "I Had a Dream" speech. So it's like this year, like, we need to knock it off. We need to stop the bull crap. We need to tell the real truth about why he's no longer here. They need to start telling the real truth that he was assassinated. Stop telling our children that he gave his life for the civil rights movement, when in fact his life was taken because of the civil rights movement, because of all the progress that he was bringing to the table, because they didn't want to see our people rise and elevate like he was like doing a good job of helping our people rise and elevate. So not taking anything away from, any Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, all our Christian leaders, not taking nothing away from you. All our Muslim leaders, not taking anything away from you. Like I said, it took all of us to get us to where we're at, and then we still got so much far to go. But Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, he was an instrumental driving force of progression for our people. And, we got to stop letting them defile his memory by trying to say, he was all about the nonviolence, and try to just relegate him to the "I Had a Dream" speech, when, he wasn't having none of it, because you couldn't just whip on his head. He was a man. And then more to the point, just because you say you admire somebody's thinking doesn't necessarily mean they like you as a person. Like, they try to demonize Malcolm X because he said he admired Adolf Hitler. He admired his thinking, the way he thought about organizing people, getting people together. That's what he admired about Hitler. They try to make Martin Luther King Jr. seem docile because he admired his Mahdi Gandhi's approach to nonviolence. He admired his nonviolent protesting method. He didn't like him as a person because, like, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was very educated, so he knew that Gandhi was a racist piece of crap. So he never went on record in saying that, but he already had the acquired knowledge about, Gandhi's racial, remarks and how we view our people. He just admired his violent approach to protesting. That's all. You didn't mean just sit up there and just let him just cave your head in when he was saying being nonviolent. He wanted to use the nonviolent approach because they was using the media to push propaganda to show us, we're animals, and when the police go upside our heads, that's the only way that they can get through to us, to get their point across, because we're just naturally unruly. So by being nonviolent, you see who the real beast is. That's why on my platform, sometimes I say filthy beast. That's not saying, all Caucasian people are, evil, but, I talk about true nature on here. They got the nature of the beast. And that's what Martin Luther King was Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King was attempting to show us with his nonviolent approach. He wanted to show us who the real animals were. Because he's seen us getting hosed. He's seen us, the attack dogs attacking us. Police going upside our head for no reason. Getting pulled off public transportation and getting beaten for nothing. Crosses burning in our homes, waking up to crosses burning in our homes, in front of our homes. Well, sometimes in it, sometimes they would just burn the whole house to the ground if they didn't want you in their neighborhood. But anyway, like this holiday season, like let's do our children, let's give them the biggest gift in the world and tell them the truth about his legacy. Tell them that he was assassinated. He didn't just, he just stepped on a building and walked into the bullet. Like here, just take my life. I love my people. Kill me, racist white man. No, he was assassinated. Let's tell the truth. Once and for all, there was a government plot to end his life because he was being an effective leader. And again, I'm not saying all the leaders that we have now are not effective. They're effective. We need them. We need their guidance, their tutelage. We need their lessons. But, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King had a very polarizing effect on us. And we was progressing immensely when he was alive. Like he would say something and we would do it. You saw it. And they saw it. And they became fearful of it and had him killed. So while he does deserve to be admonished, like let's never get it twisted about the real reason that we're celebrating that holiday, not just having a day off work, or a day off school, or, a free day to just be lazy and not do nothing. Let's really tell it like it is, because another thing I want to point out, like, did you notice during the civil unrest, Caucasian people, like the first thing that came out of their mouth, well, this is not what Martin Luther King would want. You're making a mockery of his legacy. Y'all make a mockery of his legacy every damn day. What are you talking about? Y'all the mockery. Y'all making the mockery of his legacy by not giving us what you owe us. So, they always try to deflect it and make it seem like, that's all he wanted us to do, to just lay down and just take it. He just wanted us to fight back from the financial, perspective, like get you some tangibles to fight back with, get as much of your own so you don't have to depend on them, and that's like less they can take away from you. That's what he was trying to drive it through our heads. So like, if you establish yourself independently, they can't take nothing away from you. And he was being successful at it because so many people was listening to him, especially down south, his home in Tennessee. They didn't like that. So I'm just tired of him trying to like relegate him just strictly to the I have a dream speech. And he was so much more radical and pronounced than that. Like I said, he had a speech where, he was pointing out all the, advantages they were giving Caucasian people in this country with all these government subsidies and grants that they didn't have to pay back. And you had to be Caucasian to get them. Like they wasn't giving it to us for nothing. Even if you filled out the paperwork right, you wasn't going to get it. And it's kind of still like that. It's kind of still like that. Even today. They make you go through so much red tape if you're going the grant route. Even with all this technology. You'll mess around and be 8-9 years trying to go the grant route. Hire a grant writer and still not get it. Not to say not go for it, but they still put up a whole lot of red tape for that because they trying to keep the money for the people that they want to have the money. That's who they're trying to award the grant to. But not to say it's impossible to get them. You can get them now. It's just like, I just don't want people to like misconstrue and just believe, Dr. King, like all he was the I had a dream speech. And that's all, what they've been doing it since he's been dead. It's just like, well, his message was nonviolent and, his message was palatable. That message is palatable for Caucasians. Like, because if you look at the end verse, you got him and then you got Malcolm X. They killed both of them. They was fearful of both of them, but they wasn't fearful of, Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's approach. They was fearful of his ideals, what he was doing for us as a people, as far as like getting us to, embrace doing for self, like that financial, like how important it is to have your own. But there wasn't, fearful of like him, like preaching physical violence. But even though he was physically violent himself, like I'm a firm believer, like he done knocked somebody's ass off in his time. I know he did. He's a man. I know he done knocked somebody's ass off in his time. But anyway, that's all I want to get across on my speaking point for today. I think I went way over my time limit. And now today, here on Narrator Podcast, we're closing out with my final thought. I think I started out with my final thought, actually. Being wrong. Oh, yeah, well, I got to tell you what my final thought is. Jumped ahead of myself. So my final thought is a gem, a pearl of wisdom, something that will inspire and promote critical thinking and just something profound. And to just leave you with like, damn, I never thought about it like that. So today's final thought is error. That's the final thought or the final word, whichever you want. Don't be afraid to be wrong. Nobody knows everything, and I think a lot of problems that happen in our community is not because of violence and a lot because we don't know how to get along with one another. I think a lot of disagreements and arguments happen because, pride. You want to save face. You don't want to be wrong. You don't want to retract your statement. You don't want to admit when you was wrong. You don't want to admit you didn't know something. Can't know everything. Can't just know everything. And then sidebar, don't ever mistake knowledge for wisdom or knowledge for intelligence. You know what I'm saying? Knowledge just means you know something. It doesn't mean you're smart. You can know a lot and still know nothing at the same time. It's very possible to know many things and still know nothing. In fact, that's kind of what you should strive for. So that hunger and that quest for knowledge is constantly there. To learn from your environment, to learn from, anything you come against. Make it into a teachable moment. And the people that do that are very successful in life. People that utter the phrase, I don't know. They're probably smarter than you, but they acknowledge they don't know everything. See, that's people that you should probably try to avoid talking to. Is people that just always got an answer for everything. They know everything. Those are probably some of the most dishonest people in the world that just know everything all the time. You know everything all the time. Disingenuous, just lying to yourself. Knowledge is infinite. There's no way one human being can know everything. You gotta have somebody, you gotta let yourself, allow yourself to be teachable, allow yourself to be corrected. Like I said, when I started my podcast off, I said I was wrong because, for the last 4 or 5 months, I've been, I went on my riff. I changed my tagline from black to original because my original tagline was Narrator Podcast, changing the narrative one episode at a time by destroying negative black stereotypes about black people and black culture. So I just swapped it out for original because I looked in the dictionary and I seen all them, negative connotations. And I'm like, yo, we're kind of speaking a dark spell over ourselves saying the word black. When in reality, now going back doing the knowledge, I found out we did have ancient words that, that we did refer to ourselves as black in those ancient times, and we did have ancient words that meant black. But the colonizers came over there and they flipped it and they hid it from us like they hide it from everything from us, and they dirtied it up and defiled it, and now it means something dirty. Now they didn't turn black into a dirty word, literally, because it's literally the only one word in the dictionary that denotes origin. And then they come up with all these negative nouns, pronouns, synonyms, adjectives, and example sentences describing the word black. And that's the only color in the dictionary that points to origin. So it's definitely a psychological thing when they did that. Because they know the people that wrote the dictionary knew about the power of words. When you release something out of your mouth, they try to, warp our minds way back then. Because words are a powerful thing. You can speak positive things over yourself. And, like the old saying is, that's a lie. Sticks and stones will break your bones, but words will never hurt you. Words will kill you. You can kill somebody with your words. Words are living matter. That's why it's important to know the etymology of words and to break them down and use them carefully. But anyway, I'm veering off topic. My point was about being wrong, and I was kind of wrong about the word black. So yeah, the colonizers made it into something negative, but its original roots is good, of course. It meant something good, and I'm not going to do a deep dive into the etymology all the way back to the Kemetic roots of it, but yeah, it's positive, but the way that put in the dictionary is negative, and I was wrong about that. So my point is being wrong and accepting when you're wrong, admitting when you're wrong, allowing yourself to be wrong, and don't get so defensive when you're wrong. And like a lot of violence that happens in our community is because people want to save face. They know they're wrong as hell, and then they want to get violent about being wrong. And they want to go all the way, they want to literally die on the hill because they was wrong. Like petty misunderstandings. Just really because you was wrong. You was wrong in that instance. And instead of saying, oops, my bad, you want to just take it to the max. I said what I said. You was wrong, bruh. You was wrong, sis. So, just take being wrong with a grain of salt. That's my overall takeaway. I went from my final thought of the day. Don't be afraid to be wrong. Don't be ashamed of being wrong. Being ignorant about something, everybody's ignorant about something. Ignorance is not a dirty word. It just means simply that you're ill-informed, misinformed, or don't know. Not knowing is not a bad thing. You can correct ignorance. You can correct ignorance with enlightenment. What you cannot correct is stupidity. So when you know you're wrong about something, you don't admit that you're wrong and won't let that situation or a person correct you when you're wrong, then you're being stupid. And there ain't no help for that. All right, well, that's my time. I'm way over my time limit that I set for myself, but I'm going to stick a pin in it here. So thanks for listening. Narrator Podcast. I do this every single weekend. Remember to download this episode 172 of the Narrator Podcast. Download this episode and all previously recorded episodes of the Narrator Podcast to help me keep growing my platform. You can like it and share it too, but the downloads is what really, really counts. So please download this episode and our previously recorded episodes of the Narrator Podcast to support the brand. Please also support my poetry blog, my personal poetry blog called Halsey's Poetry Corner. The website address is www.mrhalseysblogs.com. It's insightful, witty poetry. I write it in the moment. Haven't posted. Kind of took a little hiatus at posting, but just because I'm not writing doesn't mean, or just because I'm not posting doesn't mean I'm not writing. I just got some stuff that I don't want to share, because some stuff you're supposed to just keep to yourself, and I've been doing a lot of keeping to myself. But the poetry on there is insightful. It's written in the moment. I write them as they come to me. I just write it on the spot. I don't premeditate what I'm going to write about. Go check that out. Halsey's Poetry Corner, Halsey's Blogs at www.mrhalseysblog.com. The tagline is Poetry with a Passion, poetry for all occasions. When you read it, you'll find out why. Speaking of poetry, why don't you go on, head over to the Poetizer bookstore online, and purchase your copy of The Black Card at Poetizer. It's titled The Black Card. You got to go online to Poetizer and purchase the book. Yeah. So I plugged everything that'll do it. This has been another edition of the Narrator Podcast. Oh wait, yeah. Tune in regularly because I go live during the weekday. I do random lives. I never know what days I'm going to go live. It'll behoove you to always tune in every single day so you don't miss a live edition of the Narrator Podcast. And the best way to do that is subscribe to my YouTube channel and click the notification bell because, it broadcasts directly to YouTube when I'm live. So you always get the notification when I'm live, and to my Twitter. And I'm Halsey Allen on both YouTube and Twitter. So follow me on YouTube or Twitter, Halsey Allen, so you don't miss a live edition of the Narrator Podcast. Okay, thanks, bye. That'll do it for this episode of the Narrator Podcast. So just remember, you have the power to change the narrative. Become a narrator today. Spread that message. Share positive content on your timelines. Whatever platform you got, it's up to us to give ourselves the inclusion and the representation that we so richly deserve and need. We always got to put out them positive frames of reference. That's what I do here on the Narrative Podcast, is put out those positive frames of reference. So, yeah. But tune in next week for another full episode of the Narrative Podcast. Halsey Allen and the Narrative Podcast signing off. And it's like that.
Set your place on fire. Put a little bit of shit, put a little bit of shit, get a little bit of gasoline. Put a little bit of shit,
To the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.